Hi, all of you wonderful scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine podcast, where I break down the latest scuba diving news and just things that have piqued my interest over the previous week. The podcast is sponsored by the scuba diving giant Scuba Pro, who manufacture a wide range of diving equipment for entry-level scuba divers experiencing the underwater world for the first time to advanced technical divers and professional scuba divers as well. I'll talk more about Scuba Pro later on in this podcast. Hi, all of you awesome scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine podcast. This week, the dive community is coming together to help divers and dive centres who have suffered because of the Maui Wildfire. 4 divers have been rescued after being lost at sea for 17 hours off the east coast of the United States. British divers are being asked to report any polluting shipwrecks that they come across in an anonymous survey, and SSI have partnered up with Edges of Earth. So first up, in response to the devastating wildfires in Maui, PADI has committed to supporting those in the scuba diving community whose livelihoods have been uprooted. The CEO and president of PADI Worldwide, Drew Richardson, said that our thoughts and prayers go out to all of those who have been affected by this tragedy. United above and below the surface of our shared blue planet, we stand together with the dive community to provide strength and speed in recovery efforts. So to help the local diving community in Maui recover, PADI has teamed up with the Ako Foundation, creating a relief fund to directly assist members in Maui get back on their feet and in the water as soon as possible. And PADI is leading the efforts to assist Maui dive businesses affected by these fires, and the Ako Foundation is based in the Kailua on Big Island of Hawaii, whose passion and purpose it is to unite the stakeholders of Hawaii's nearshore marine environments and work together to create a positive ocean change. So I'm going to put a link down in the description below if you want to join PADI and the Ako Foundation with your support of relief efforts for the diving community. 100% of all donations to this relief fund will be distributed directly to dive professionals in Hawaii in need of recovery from the devastating fires. If you are an individual or a business in Hawaii who wishes to extend or receive support, you can contact PADI Regional Manager Kyle.ingram at Kyle, so that's KYLE.ingram at PADI.com. I'll put all of this down in the description below. It's really nice to see the dive community all come together to help out people who have suffered this awful wildfire that seemed to have almost come out of nowhere. But yeah, it is nice to it is nice to see the community come together to help them out. On the east coast of mainland United States in, I think it was South Carolina, 4 divers who went missing on Sunday south of Cape Fear, North Carolina, have been rescued by the United States Coast Guard and the US Navy. The divers were found around 12:14 a.m. They'd been in the water, I think, about 17 hours after a Coast Guard C-130 from Air Station Elizabeth City saw a strobe light in the water flashing an SOS signal. US Coast Guard 5th District spokesperson Jonathan Lally told the CNN. So the C-130 crew launched a life raft from the back of the plane to the divers, and then the Coast Guard coordinated with a ship to pick them up until a Coast Guard boat could get there. The divers were rescued about 46 miles southeast of the Cape Fear River in North Carolina. The divers were brought back to the Coast Guard station Oak Island about 6:10 a.m. They underwent a medical screening before they were reunited with their friends and family. So the 4 men went diving from a recreational diving boat. They were about 63 miles east of Myrtle Beach in South Carolina around noon, and when they were separated from their boat, I believe it was by current, and when they surfaced, they were sort of preparing for the worst. I believe they had spear guns with them. They ditched all but one, just so they had some level of protection because there were sharks in the area. And apparently there was one that was like sniffing around from time to time, so they were just keeping one just in case. And rescue crews were searching for them by boat, by aircraft, and eventually the C-130 managed to spot them, dropped the life raft in the water for them to be able to get out of the water, because I think at least one of them was suffering from hypothermia at that point. And then there is some footage out there, the like helicopter footage, and it is all like heat, black and white, and you can spot them in the raft being collected. So happy ending to the story, and everyone made it back home safe. But it's a stark reminder, and it was a comment the other day. I forget which video it was. It was one of the travel videos, and I was saying how this is the water temperature, and the recommended wetsuit is like a 3 mil wetsuit, and someone was saying, it's like, oh, why would you need a 3 mil wetsuit? For this exact reason. Sure, you might be able to be perfectly fine and warm on like a 40-minute dive in that water temperature, but imagine being stuck in the water for 17 hours. Then you're going to want that 3 mil wetsuit. So if in doubt, it's better to wear a little bit of extra exposure protection just in case. So, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, I'm going to talk briefly about Scuba Pro. Scuba Pro was founded in 1963 by Gustav Dallevale and Dick Bonin, and in 2023 they see their 60th anniversary, and Scuba Pro is stronger than ever. Today, Scuba Pro is a global brand, and you'll find them around any dive site or dive boat, because scuba divers around the world just trust Scuba Pro as a brand. I personally have never had a problem recommending any Scuba Pro dive equipment to anyone asking. I used it whilst I was scuba diving and teaching, and so did all of my students as well. They were using Scuba Pro equipment, and no matter where you are in the world, it won't be hard to find a service center because they're located all over the world. The divers are Scuba Pro's inspiration. Every product, every enhancement, every decision, everything that they do is designed to make your diving experience the best that it can be. Because without this blue planet of divers eager to explore, their innovations mean nothing. And Scuba Pro want to thank you for being part of their journey and for being their inspiration for the future. They are so excited to share their latest innovations with you. The best is yet to come. A few big things this year have been the Ulex range of wetsuits that use a plant-based foam instead of neoprene, which is better for the planet, and the S-Tech fins, which are a more technical focused fin, a bit of a hybrid between the Seawing Nova and the Jet fin. One really cool feature is that you can actually adjust their buoyancy by adding or removing little metal plates in the fin before the dive. But for more information, head over to scubapro.com. Here in the UK, the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency is asking UK divers to help identify pollution seeping from historic shipwrecks. The MCA, the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, occasionally receives reports of oil pollution associated with shipwrecks. Although this information is usually received on an ad hoc basis, whilst the government does keep records of known potentially polluting wrecks, these are often incomplete due to the nature of the vessels sinking during the times of war, unlike a purposely scuttled or sunk ship. They of course they have everything on board, all of the fuel, all of the grease and all that kind of stuff on the inside, which eventually, as the shipwreck starts to degrade and corrode, then the oils just leak out. So the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency have created a short questionnaire which can be filled out anonymously if you don't want to put your name to it. I'll put a link down in the description below. So if you're diving around the coast, you come across a shipwreck and you see something leaking out of it, then you can just fill this out with all the relevant details, and it just helps them just create a better map of where and when and what kind of state they're in. Alternatively, there is an email address. Again, I'll put it down in the description below with as much of the information as possible. You can just email them. Try to include the location, the name of the wreck if you know it, frequency of pollution observed, or last observation of pollution. So if you see a small trickle of oil leaking out of it or whatever it is, just let them know, and that can help them keep a better record. Scuba Schools International, or SSI as most people know them, has announced a groundbreaking partnership with the Edges of Earth Expedition, which is an inspiring venture led by a female diving team. This collaboration also involves Mares. Mares and SSI work very, very closely, and marks a significant step for SSI as it embarks in its inaugural brand ambassador program in its 50-year history. So the Edges of Earth expedition, spearheaded by Andy Cross, who is a accomplished SSI dive master, is a 2-year journey to over 50 remote dive sites across the globe. The team, consisting of highly certified scuba divers, free divers, and wilderness guides, will engage with local experts, including scientists, conservationists, dive centers, community leaders, and more, all dedicated to preserving and restoring the ocean's delicate ecosystems. In the face of the alarming consequences of ocean warming, the expedition's primary mission is to shed light on the positive efforts and progress being made to protect marine environments. Though a dedicated online presence across SSI, Mares, and the Edges of Earth digital platforms, the team will share the untold stories of those who are championing ocean conservation. By showcasing these inspiring narratives, they aim to inspire individuals, especially the next generation, to take proactive steps towards safeguarding our oceans. And that's about all the interesting news that I could find this week, actually. It's been a pretty quiet week. I couldn't even find any new diving equipment on any website. I had a good look around just to see if anything had snuck in under my radar, but I really couldn't find anything, to be honest. I have been working on a few things this week. The first one was the tidal mask. So this was sent to us by a company, and they also make an underwater phone case, which is pretty cool. And it allows you to like take pictures underwater and stuff. But they sent me the mask first off, and it comes factory fitted with a defog like film on the inside. Now I have one of these on my my backup mask that sits in my thigh pocket, but that was a aftermarket thing that I added, and of course it isn't shaped for my specific mask. It's just a generic shape, so there's still a few little areas in the corners that still fog up when you use it. However, with this one, it's a tidal. I think they just call it the fog-free dual mask. The defog screen is cut specifically for those lenses. So whilst you do get some tiny slithers of glass that do fog up around the very edges, most of the screen, a good like 98-99% of the screen, is completely fog free straight out of the box. You don't have to spit in it, you don't have to use toothpaste or anything. They say that the treatment on that film can last a good year or so. It depends how well you look after your mask and all that. But they also sell a like retreatment spray that brings it back up to its former glory, defog. So you just reapply that once every now and then, and it keeps it fog free, which is pretty cool. I've also been working on 10 strange or incorrect things that a lot of scuba divers still say. That was quite fun to write. It mainly came from that comment earlier of oh, why do you need to wear a wetsuit in this water temperature? Yeah, stuff like that. That'll be going up probably in a couple weeks now. Mainly because a new dry suit has literally just turned up, and it has the brand seal written on it, which may interest some of you. It's a new dry suit that is quite still fairly new on the market. It's been out for a few years, or at least 1 or 2 years. And I finally got my hands on one to try out. So I'm going to be doing that, and the video will be going live as soon as I make it, really. So probably in the next week or two. I've also been doing a gauge mode video. I was, to be honest, I was looking to make an easy video, and yeah, I was just looking at sort of what content, what do people ask about, and gauge mode kind of came into mind to sort of explain what gauge mode does, because I remember when I was first learning to dive, had my first dive computer, and you're playing about with it as you diligently do, and flicking through the different modes, and one of them is gauge mode. And you're like, what is gauge mode? Went into it and it looked perfectly fine. Went on a dive with it and you're like, oh, okay, this seems perfectly fine. Whatever. Got back on the boat, went to go back into scuba mode, and I couldn't. Gauge mode, it basically deactivates the algorithm, and if you use it on a dive, then that's all you can use for the next like 48 hours. So yeah, I figured I'd make a video explaining what gauge mode does and doesn't do. So new divers, if they're sort of using their computer for the first time, they come across gauge mode, hopefully they'll watch the video first and know not to go into it unless they really need to. Otherwise, I think that's about it. It really has been a pretty quiet week in the dive industry. There was one thing, but I'm not allowed to talk about that. That's embargoed. Special secrets. Otherwise, yeah, that really is about it. Thank you for listening, everybody. Remember to check out today's sponsor, which is Scuba Pro. I imagine most of you have heard of Scuba Pro before now. They're one of the really big diving brands. But yeah, they've got some special offers. They're celebrating their 60th year. So that's pretty cool, and they're sort of really doing some special things. As far as new equipment for them, I did see that they have a 60th anniversary windbreaker. If anyone's interested, they need a new jacket for the upcoming autumn season. There's a Scuba Pro windbreaker on their website. But yeah, that's about the closest thing to new dive equipment that I found. I didn't really think that was too much worth mentioning. But yeah, otherwise, remember to head over to our website, scubadivermag.com. Check out any news articles that we've been publishing. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all that social media stuff. Definitely subscribe as well. I really want to get those numbers back up and running. Otherwise, yeah, thank you for listening, everybody. And of course, safe diving.